Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today, and we're starting here with Saros. Now, if you watch the Game Awards, you know that Saros did show up, and one of the things that was revealed was the fact it was delayed, unfortunately, from March 20th, 2026 to April 30th, 2026. But not only did we get a new story trailer where Housemarque writes over on the PlayStation blog that this is going to be their most ambitious storytelling effort so far, they also give us pre-order bonuses as well. And one of the things that you will gain access to if you pre-order specifically the Digital Deluxe Edition is 48 hours early access. So we are seeing another PlayStation title that's doing this. I know a lot of you guys here like to buy your games physically, so unfortunately, for those of us who prefer physical games, we're not going to be able to access the game 2 days in advance. But something else that you end up getting with the Digital Deluxe Edition are some different suits of armor that are inspired by other PlayStation titles. You have the Midgard armor, which is obviously inspired by God of War. You have the Onryo armor, which is inspired by Ghost of Yotei. And you also have the Astra armor, which is inspired by Returnal. So that's cool to see as well. And then they have the Hands of Shore armor, which is just a regular pre-order bonus item in general. But yeah, Saros is shaping up to look very good, and it's clearly looking like it's going to be Housemarque's biggest and best game so far. So let me know if it's a day one buy for you and which version you're going to be getting. But we're moving on to the next topic, which is another Sony published title that was revealed during the Game Awards. This time we're talking about 4Loop. Don't know how I feel about that name, but this is the 4-player co-op shooter that we saw Sony kind of partner with right before the Game Awards. And so on the PlayStation blog, it says, on behalf of Sony Interactive Entertainment and Bad Robot Games, it is our pleasure to announce 4Loop, a 4-player co-op shooter experience set in an original sci-fi universe. Our teams are thrilled to finally show you what we've been working on, and now you can catch a first glimpse of gameplay by watching the official gameplay reveal trailer. And so they actually did a little interview with Mike Booth here, and I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's, a little too long for the video, but I wanted to read just one of the questions. They say, what ultimately is the game's gameplay loop, and what am I working towards in the long run? Mike Booth responds by saying the goal of the players is to draw the attention of the mothership by disrupting the aliens' global mining operation and then somehow destroy it. Each time the 4-player team succeeds in a mission, they make choices to improve their equipment, building out a unique kit to survive the epic boss battle at the end of the act. If the team completes all 3 acts, they defeat the mothership and save the world. All of this is, of course, easier said than done. There are also various layers of meta progression as well as lots of actual details to learn about how the world works, to give you an edge for the next run. So to be honest, I'm not seeing a lot of hype for this game, and I think that's fair. I don't think that what's being shown here is anything mind-blowing or amazing looking, and I don't mean that offensively. I just mean it looks like another co-op multiplayer game. These days, they are a dime a dozen. However, I do still want to continue to pay attention to the fact that Mike Booth is somebody who was very integral to the creation of Left 4 Dead, and at the very least, it'll be kind of interesting to see how this ends up playing out, right? Like, this could be a really fun game. It depends. Are we looking at like a Helldiver situation where no one's really paying that much attention to it, doesn't have that much hype around it? Maybe it's got a couple people excited, but then it just kind of explodes out of nowhere. I really don't know, but, hopefully this game does have some type of potential by the time we end up getting our hands on it. But we're going to move on to the next topic here, which is letting you know that Phantom Blade Zero is officially locked in by Sony to be a 12-month PS5 console exclusive. This was revealed, I think, during the latest trailer. So Phantom Blade Zero did show up at the Game Awards. The gameplay looks incredible. I mean, the game is looking better than ever. We did get a release date of September 9th, 2026. So, we still have a ways to go. But one of the things that people kind of caught at the end of the trailer was it says Phantom Blade Zero PlayStation 5 console exclusive, also available on PC, not available on other consoles until at least 12 months after the release date. So what's interesting to me about this is I actually don't think this has much to do with Xbox at all, mainly because, well, I mean, if we look at what's going on with Xbox console sales, and the fact that Sony even put Helldivers on Xbox themselves, I think it's safe to say that Sony doesn't really view Microsoft with the Xbox brand as much of a threat anymore. I think this may actually have more to do with the Nintendo Switch 2 and kind of preventing the devs from like getting a Switch 2 version out there. I'm just pointing this out because I find it fascinating that Sony is still striking these year-long timed exclusivity deals where they are clearly paying for this, or at the very least like supporting the developer and using up resources, and maybe this is kind of something they're getting in exchange. But yeah, there you go. Phantom Blade Zero, timed console exclusive, obviously will be available on PC. Moving on from that, we're talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Obviously, it won big at the Game Awards, not only winning Game of the Year, but I think pretty much broke the record for being the most awarded game of all time at the Game Awards, winning the most amount of awards. But they did announce a shadow drop of free content during the Game Awards, or like right after. And this is out now. If you own Clair Obscur, you have access to this content. You're looking at Verso's Drafts, a new playable environment, taking the characters of Expedition 33 to a brand new location with new enemy encounters and surprises to discover. It's located on the world map next to Lumiere, accessible from Act 3, and SK's underwater ability is required. New text and UI game localizations were added. New costumes for each member of the expedition, giving even more customization options. New boss battles for late game players to overcome in the Endless Tower. There are variations of iconic bosses from the main game designed to be even more challenging. Added new luminous and weapons. Added the old key quest item to the final area of the game, previously obtainable only during the prologue. This edition gives players a second chance to collect all journals within a single playthrough. And so yeah, it's quite a bit of extra content that they just kind of, again, shadow dropped out of nowhere. And it was really cool that they had this planned, because they didn't necessarily know if they were going to win Game of the Year, although I think a lot of people expected them to. They had this ready to go as a kind of thank you to all the players. So very cool to see that. Moving on to the next topic, though, we're talking a little bit about Resident Evil Requiem. Obviously, the big Leon reveal officially happened at the Game Awards, and there was a new trailer released, but we got a little bit more insight into what we can expect going into Resident Evil 9. This comes from Genki Japan on X, where there was an interview done between Capcom and Automaton, and they say it's going to be one unified story, and you're going to switch between Leon and Grace sections. Grace and Leon's playable sections are apparently equally split. The structure is similar to Resident Evil Revelations. Grace is, quote, the biggest scaredy cat in Resident Evil history, end quote. Leon is a seasoned veteran. This will push Leon to his limits more than ever before. Leon is the Aikyoji, which means a cool and attractive older guy. Return to Raccoon City for the first time since Resident Evil 2. Grace's gameplay is actually based on Resident Evil 2 gameplay. Leon's gameplay includes martial arts and melee moves based on Resident Evil 4. There's going to be a balance between scary when you're playing as Grace and action when you're playing as Leon. So there you go. Resident Evil 9's looking amazing. Easily one of my most anticipated games for next year. Let me know if you're excited for it. Next up, we're talking about Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. And so we have a report here from Push Square. It says Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic will release before 2030, according to the game's director, Casey Hudson. Following the RPG's reveal at the Game Awards earlier this week, a tweet from Bloomberg journalist Jason Schreier suggested it's still very, very far away from releasing, since developer Acronaut Studios was only founded earlier this year. The claim didn't seem to be based on inside information, but Schreier said the release year of 2030 seems like a, quote, optimistic guess. In response, Acronaut Studios CEO and director Casey Hudson has played down the release window estimate in a social media post. Hudson said not to worry about the rumors surrounding a 2030 release date. He says, don't worry about the not till 2030 rumors. Game will be out before then. I'm not getting any younger. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where I think he's very well-intentioned here, saying, hey, we want to get this game out before 2030, but we know how long big AAA game dev cycles can be these days. So I think a lot of people want to believe what Casey Hudson is saying here and assume, yeah, it's going to be like a 2027 or 2028 game, but realistically, considering the studio was just founded and this is clearly going to be a big game, yeah, I'm thinking it's not going to be releasing anytime soon. But there you go. That's what he said, in response to that. But we're going to move on to the final topic here, which is talking about Tomb Raider. So 2 new Tomb Raider games were announced for PS5. One is set to come out next year in 2026, and the other is set to come out in 2027. The first of the games is Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. It's a reimagining of the original PS1 game developed by Crystal Dynamics and Flying Hog Studios. Designed to celebrate the series' 30th anniversary, the release promises stylish acrobatics through lost tombs, discreet secrets scattered across alluring environments, and intricate puzzles filled with eureka moments that leave us yearning for discovery. Tomb Raider Catalyst, meanwhile, is being billed as the largest Tomb Raider to date. This will be an all-new adventure where seasoned protagonist Lara Croft will explore dense jungles, scale towering mountains, and descend into mysterious ruins using her richly customized adventure tech. So, yeah, I thought that this was quite a interesting announcement where you're getting not 1 but 2 Tomb Raider games announced. It seems like there's a lot more excitement for Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis at the moment, and not nearly as much excitement for the next main game, which is Tomb Raider Catalyst. But still, the fact that they're trying to do these things back to back is, I would say, quite ambitious and very interesting. And so, yeah, I liked what I saw of Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, and I'll have to see more of Catalyst before I really get excited. But there you go, Tomb Raider is back. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.